My girlfriend's Tuesday book club ran until 2 a.m. every week. When I showed up at the meeting location with coffee, I found her and 5 guys. No books, just drinks and dancing. Her explanation about networking fell apart when I asked. I, 29 male, have been with my girlfriend, 27, for 3 years. We moved in together about 18 months ago into a 2-bedroom apartment that I pay 70% of the rent on because I make more money. Her suggestion, to be fair. I work in corporate finance, she works in marketing. I thought we were building towards something real. Engagement was on my mind for months. I'd been looking at rings, browsing online, saving up. I even asked her sister what cut she preferred without making it obvious. Classic idiot behavior in retrospect. She started this Tuesday book club about 8 months ago. Said it was with some girls from her old college sorority who reconnected on Instagram. They'd meet at someone's house, drink wine, discuss whatever book they were reading. Sounded wholesome. I was genuinely happy she had something of her own, because I'm not the type to need my partner around 24/7. But here's the thing that started bothering me. She'd leave around 7 p.m. and not get home until 2 a.m. Sometimes 2:30. Every single Tuesday without fail. When I mentioned that seemed pretty late for a book club, she said they just got really into discussions and that the host lived far away. I asked which friend hosted. She said it rotated. I asked what books they were reading. She gave me titles that I later Googled. They were real books, so I figured she was being honest. I even bought her one of them for her birthday. She thanked me, but I never saw her read it. I trusted her. 3 years together, living under the same roof, planning a future. Why wouldn't I trust her? That was my mistake. 3 weeks ago, she left her iPad at home. She usually takes it to work but forgot it charging on the kitchen counter. I was making coffee when a message popped up from someone saved as book club group. The preview said, "Same place tonight? The guys are asking if we're still coming." The guys? My stomach dropped. I know I shouldn't have, but I opened it. The group chat had 7 people in it. My girlfriend, 2 other women, and 4 men. The messages weren't about books. They were about which bar they were hitting, who was buying the first round, who was bringing what, and someone asking my girlfriend if she was wearing that red dress again, with a fire emoji. I scrolled up. Weeks and weeks of messages. Photos of them at clubs, at lounges, dancing. My girlfriend pressed up against some dude I'd never seen before, his hands on her waist, both of them grinning at the camera. Another photo of her doing shots with a guy whose face was half cut off. Flirty messages back and forth, inside jokes I didn't understand. Nothing explicitly sexual that I could see, but the tone was clear. This wasn't innocent networking or professional connections. This was my girlfriend living a whole other life every Tuesday night for 8 months while I sat at home like an idiot thinking she was discussing literary themes. I didn't confront her that night. I needed to think. I screenshot everything. Every photo, every message, every flirty exchange, and sent it all to my personal email, then deleted the evidence that I'd accessed her iPad. She came home at 2:15 a.m. smelling like vodka and cigarette smoke, kissed me on the cheek while I pretended to be half asleep, and said the book they were discussing was so emotional, babe, you'd love it. I almost laughed out loud. The next Tuesday, I told her I had to work late on a presentation. Instead, I went to the bar I'd identified from the photos, some upscale lounge with Edison bulbs and overpriced cocktails. I brought coffee because I thought it would be funny. A nice thermos of fresh brew for my girlfriend's book club meeting. Found them in a booth near the back. My girlfriend in that red dress everyone apparently loved, surrounded by 3 guys and 2 women I'd never seen before in my life. One of the guys had his arm draped around her shoulder like he owned the place. There were cocktails everywhere, empty glasses stacked up, some kind of appetizer platter demolished. A DJ was playing in the corner. Nobody was reading anything. Nobody had a book within 100 feet of them. I walked up to the table with my coffee carrier and said, "Hey babe, brought refreshments for the book club. What chapter are you guys on?" The look on her face, I wish I'd recorded it. Pure panic. Eyes wide, mouth open, color draining. Then she tried to recover, and I could literally see the gears turning. "Oh my God, what are you doing here?" I set the coffee down on the table. supporting your literary pursuits. So which one of these gentlemen is leading tonight's discussion on? What was it this month? The Midnight Library? One of the guys, the one with his arm around her, looked genuinely confused. Book club? We're just hanging out, bro. Who are you? My girlfriend jumped in fast. This is my boyfriend. Babe, this is networking. I told you it was networking for work stuff. You must have misunderstood what I said. 8 months of misunderstanding, huh? That's impressive communication on both our parts. She grabbed my arm and tried to pull me away from the table, smile plastered on like nothing was wrong. The excuses came rapid fire once we were a few steps away. These were potential clients. Her career depended on making connections. The guys were just friendly. Nothing was happening. Nothing had ever happened. She couldn't believe I didn't trust her enough to let her have this. I was being controlling and paranoid. I was embarrassing her in front of professional contacts. I let her finish. Then I asked her one question. If this is professional networking, why did someone in the group chat ask if you were wearing the red dress again with a fire emoji? Is that a standard business inquiry in marketing? She went pale. Really pale. I left without making a scene. Told her we'd talk at home. She didn't come back until 3 a.m. that night. When she finally walked through the door, she tried a different approach. Tears, apologies, swearing on her mother's life that nothing physical ever happened with any of them. She said she just liked feeling wanted and special, and that I'd been distant lately with work stress. That this was partially my fault for not giving her enough attention. That she felt like I took her for granted. I slept on the couch that night and started planning my exit. Update 1, 5 days later. So the aftermath has been interesting, and by interesting, I mean completely exhausting. First, I want to address some questions from my DMs. Yes, I'm certain nothing physical happened. No, actually, I'm not certain at all. I have no way of knowing what happened on those Tuesday nights when she was pressed up against random dudes until 2 a.m. But honestly, it doesn't matter anymore. The lying for 8 months straight is enough. The photos of her with her arms around other men while telling me she was discussing literature is enough. The immediate gaslighting when I caught her red-handed is enough. I don't need to prove anything beyond what I already know. Here's what's happened since the confrontation. She went into full damage control mode. The day after I showed up at the bar, she called in sick to work and spent the entire day trying to fix things. She made me breakfast, eggs Benedict, my favorite. She cried. She followed me around the apartment, apologizing. She wrote me a 4-page letter about how much she loved me and how this was just a stupid thing that got out of hand and how the guys were like brothers to her. I asked if she'd ever want me going to bars until 2 a.m. every week with women who were like sisters to me. With my arm around them, buying them drinks, dancing with them. She said that was different. How? Because you're a guy. It's different when guys do it. The logic. Truly incredible. I didn't even know how to respond to that, so I just walked away. I told her I needed space to think. What I was actually doing was getting my exit strategy in order. We're not married, thank God, but we do share a lease. My name is primary on it, since I have better credit. I contacted our landlord and explained the situation, not in detail, just that we were splitting up and I needed to know my options. He said as long as I gave 30 days notice and either found a replacement tenant or paid the break fee, he'd let me out. Break fee was 2 months' rent, about $3,000 total. Painful, but worth it to be done. I also started moving my important stuff out slowly. Documents, expensive electronics, my gaming setup, anything that was definitively mine before the relationship. I have a buddy with a garage who owed me a favor, and I started storing things there after work. She didn't notice because she was too busy trying to love bomb me back into compliance. Day 3 post-discovery, her mother called me. Not her. Her mother called my phone directly. Apparently my girlfriend had told her some version of events where I was overreacting to her having friends. Her mother proceeded to lecture me for 20 minutes about how men need to let women have their own lives, and how a little jealousy is normal, but this is excessive and frankly embarrassing. I said, ma'am, with all due respect, your daughter lied to me for 8 months about where she was spending her Tuesday nights. She told me she was at a book club. She was at bars with other men. I don't think asking questions about that is excessive. She said I was twisting things and that I probably drove her to seek attention elsewhere. I hung up on her. Life's too short. Then came the friends. Her best friend since high school texted me a paragraph about how I was destroying a beautiful relationship over nothing and that I needed to grow up and forgive her. She said all couples go through rough patches and I was being immature and vindictive. I replied, "Quick question. Did she tell you she was at a book club too, or did you know where she actually was on Tuesdays?" Radio silence for 2 hours. Then, that's not the point. It absolutely was the point. Turns out, she'd lied to everyone. Her friends thought she was genuinely at a book club. Her family thought she was at a book club. Her coworkers thought she was at a book club. Only the 7 people in that group chat knew the truth. And now that the truth was out, she was scrambling to rewrite the narrative any way she could. By day 5, she shifted tactics completely. The sweet approach wasn't working, so she tried guilt. Heavy guilt. She told me that if I left her, she'd have nowhere to go. That she couldn't afford the apartment alone, that I would be ruining her life. She said her mental health was suffering because of my coldness and that if anything happened to her, it would be on my conscience. I told her, "You have 30 days to figure out your living situation. I'm not abandoning you on the street with no notice, but I'm also not staying with someone who lies to me for nearly a year straight. Start looking for roommates or a cheaper place." She called me heartless. I called it having self-respect. Update 2 weeks later. Things have escalated in ways I genuinely didn't expect. After I told her I was officially ending things and moving out, she went from guilt-tripping to actively hostile. Real hostile. The mask came all the way off and I got to see who she actually was underneath. She told me I was nothing special and that the guys at the bar actually know how to have fun, unlike me who just works and comes home like a boring old man. She said she'd wasted 3 years on someone with no ambition and no spark. Mind you, I make almost double what she does, paid for most of our life together. Covered her car payment for 6 months when she was between jobs, and took her on vacation twice last year. But sure, no ambition, no spark. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Then came the demands. She said I should pay the entire lease break fee myself since I was the one ending things. She wanted 3 months to find a new place instead of 30 days. She wanted me to leave her all the furniture we bought together. The couch, the bed, the dining table, everything. Her reasoning? She needed it more, and I made more money so I could replace it. I said no to all of it. She threatened to tell people I was emotionally abusive and that's why we broke up. I asked her to please go ahead and do that, and to make sure she explained what specifically I did that was abusive. Was it the part where I trusted her unconditionally for 3 years? Or the part where I brought her coffee at her book club? She didn't like that response. The next day, I came home from work to find one of the guys from the bar sitting in my living room, just sitting there on my couch, drinking one of my beers, watching my TV like he lived there. My girlfriend introduced him as a friend who's helping me figure out the situation. I looked at him. "You can figure out the situation from somewhere else. This is still my apartment, my name's on the lease, and I don't remember inviting you." He stood up, puffed out his chest a little. Dude was maybe an inch taller than me and clearly thought that meant something. "She told me you've been harassing her. Maybe you should be the one to leave until things calm down." I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. Harassing her? In the apartment I pay 70% of the rent for? That's creative. Get out before I call the cops for trespassing. You've got about 30 seconds. My girlfriend started yelling about how I was threatening her friend and being aggressive. The guy kept trying to look tough, crossing his arms, not moving. I pulled out my phone, dialed 911, and showed them both the screen right before I hit call. They were out the door in under a minute. After that little performance, I accelerated everything. I paid the full lease break fee myself, wasn't worth fighting over. Moved the rest of my stuff out the next day while she was at work and was completely out within 48 hours. My buddy helped me load the truck. Took about 4 hours. I left her the couch and bed because I genuinely didn't want anything that reminded me of her. I also canceled the streaming services, the internet, and the utilities that were all in my name. All of it, same day. She'd been mooching off my accounts for the entire relationship. Her idea of sharing was using my logins for everything, and she apparently assumed that would continue post-breakup. She sent me a wall of texts that night, calling me petty and vindictive and cruel. Said she was sitting in the dark, and it was freezing, and I was literally trying to punish her. I didn't respond. She could call the utility company like any other adult. Her mother called again. This time she was more aggressive, voice shaking with anger. She said I had no right to cut off services without warning, and that her daughter was suffering because of my ego. I said her daughter was a grown adult who could set up her own accounts like millions of other people do every day. She called me a few names that would make a sailor blush and hung up. Then the guy from the bar started texting me directly. Don't know how he got my number, probably copied it from her phone at some point. He sent me these weird passive-aggressive messages about how I clearly can't handle a confident woman, and how my girlfriend deserves someone who appreciates her independence. I blocked him after the third message without responding to any of them. The final straw, the thing that actually made me angry instead of just tired, was finding out she was telling our mutual friends that I had cheated on her. That's why we broke up. I was the cheater. I was out there sleeping around while she was home being loyal. I found out because a buddy of mine, a guy I've known since high school, texted me asking, "Is it true what she's saying about you?" That's when I made a decision. I sent him every single screenshot from her iPad. All of them. The photos of her with other guys, the flirty messages, the group chat planning their weekly bar nights, everything with timestamps. Told him to feel free to share with anyone who had questions about what really happened. Probably petty. Don't care. Update 3, 3 weeks later, final. Alright, this is probably my last update because honestly, I'm done giving this situation any more mental energy. But some of you have been asking what happened after the screenshots went out, so here it is. Word spread fast. Not because I asked anyone to share them. I didn't orchestrate some campaign or post them anywhere public. But when mutual friends asked what really happened, my buddy showed them. And then those people told other people. And then someone showed someone else. That's just how it goes when you try to build a lie on top of a lie on top of a lie. Her narrative about me being the cheater collapsed within about a week. The mutual friends who'd believed her story went quiet. A few of them reached out to apologize for assuming the worst about me. One guy I'd known since college sent me a text that just said, "My bad, man, she had me fooled." Another friend, someone who'd actually stopped talking to me after hearing her version, sent me a long message saying he felt like an idiot for believing her without asking my side. I told him not to worry about it. People believe what they're told until they see evidence otherwise. I didn't hold grudges. More interesting was what happened with her book club crew. One of the women in the group apparently had a serious boyfriend too. A boyfriend who had no idea she was part of this Tuesday night thing either. He thought she was at yoga class. When the screenshots circulated far enough, someone who knew both of them connected the dots and sent him the photos. That relationship ended too. So now my ex lost her main partner in crime, the one she'd been doing this with from the beginning. From what I heard through mutual acquaintances, the whole group basically fell apart after that. Turns out the foundation of a friend group built on lying to partners isn't super stable when the lies come out. My ex tried reaching out one more time about 2 weeks after I moved out. She sent a long email, not apologetic exactly, more like explanatory. She said she'd felt unfulfilled in our relationship and that the Tuesday nights were her escape from the pressure of domestic life. She said I should try to understand how hard it is to be a woman in her late 20s with societal expectations from every direction. She said maybe someday I'd mature enough to see her side and forgive her. I didn't reply. There's nothing to say to someone who frames their 8 months of lying as my failure to understand their struggle. That email told me everything I needed to know about whether she'd learned anything from this. She hadn't. She probably never will. Her mother, surprisingly, did reach out one more time. But this time, her tone was completely different. She'd apparently seen some of the screenshots, or heard enough details from people who had, and she sent me a brief text saying she didn't know the full story when we spoke, and that she shouldn't have said the things she said. Not quite a full apology, but acknowledgement of being wrong, which is more than I expected. I told her I appreciated her saying that and wished her daughter well. I mostly meant it. Holding on to anger wasn't going to help me. The guy from the bar, the one who showed up in my apartment, never texted again after I blocked him. From what I heard through the grapevine, he and my ex aren't even close anymore. Turns out, when you're not a convenient excuse for someone's double life, they lose interest in you pretty fast. Funny how that works. As for me, I'm in a new place now. Smaller, just a one-bedroom in a quieter part of town, but it's mine. My rent is actually lower than my share of the old apartment was, which is a nice silver lining. I've been reconnecting with friends I'd neglected during the relationship, not because she'd isolated me intentionally, but because when you're in a serious relationship, you just kind of settle into routines. Couple routines. You stop reaching out as much. Time to build new routines now. Financially, the lease break fee hurt. $3,000 I won't see again. But I've got stable income and I'll recover. I kept everything that was actually mine before the relationship, didn't fight over the shared stuff, didn't try to squeeze her for anything petty. Clean exit. Some people in my DMs said I should have been meaner, taken more, made her pay for the lies somehow. But that's not who I want to be. I wanted out, and I got out. That's enough. Do I think she'll learn anything from this? Honestly, no. People who can lie that smoothly for that long, who can kiss you goodnight and tell you about their book club without flinching, they don't usually have change of heart moments. She'll probably reframe this whole thing in her head as something that happened to her rather than something she caused. She'll be the victim of a controlling boyfriend who couldn't handle her having a social life. That's fine. I don't need her to understand what she did wrong. I just needed her out of my life, and she is. Someone asked me in my DMs if I regret the 3 years. That's a complicated question. I don't regret loving the person I thought she was. I regret that person didn't actually exist. But I'm 29. I have time. And honestly, I'd rather find this out now than after a wedding, after a mortgage, after kids. 8 months of lies is painful. A lifetime of them would be so much worse. So yeah, that's the story of the Tuesday Night Book Club. No books, no club, just lies, delusion, and eventually consequences. Thanks for following along, Reddit. I'm good now.